Hey, this is CJ Graham, Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Hi, this is Ken Kurzinger, a.k.a. Jason from Freddy vs. Jason.
Hi, this is Kane Hotter, better known as Jason from Friday the 13th. You are listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review podcast.
You're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
And you're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
I'd like you to listen to it. And also, if you happen to review me poorly or any of my films, well, I will kill you.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. We really appreciate all the support. Like you come to know, since we've started the show, we like to do little bonuses for the big holidays. Something that we've been talking about doing for a long time now is ranking the actual Jason actors from each film, and this is going to be a quick little fun episode, and I think we all have a different little criteria, so y'all want to go around the horn and just kind of talk about that? Mike, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like I'm going to go first on this episode because I'm the least familiar with the franchise as far as how long that we've been watching it or how much that we've seen the movies, but so I wanted to let you guys kind of duke it out at the bottom there. As far as my criteria, I thought, did the actor kind of get the essence of what I think the character is correct? Obviously, Jason Voorhees doesn't speak, so it's kind of hard to give that, Oscar-winning performance. But there are different ways to do this character, as you'll see. That's why there's a lot of different people playing him, except for one that played him, more than the rest. But I think that there's enough difference here. And look, we're not the first person to ever rank the Jasons, okay? So this isn't an original idea, but we feel like it's a really fun idea, especially since you'll be hearing this on Friday the 13th. We thought it'd be kind of cool. So my criteria is the look, the way the character moves and portrays Jason Voorhees. Does he capture that essence of that violent killer character? So that's kind of where my head went with it.
Yeah, I kind of went along the same lines. I really tried to leave the movies out of it completely. I really tried as much as I could. They may sneak up a little bit, but I really, you can call me out if I do say anything about the movies, because I really did try to just focus on how the character was played, how brutal or not, his aggression, just stuff like that, and not even so much the kills, because I tried, like I said, to leave what was in the script out of it as much as possible. Obviously you have to a certain extent, because somebody being a pussy and getting hit and knocked down is obviously part of the script, but that's just how I was looking at it. Not so much as like, oh, he's in my favorite movie, so he's my favorite, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, Brian, because in my rankings, honestly, a couple of my favorite movie in the franchise, the actual actor is down a little bit lower than some of the other guys. But I'm with you two. I kind of factored out the movies as much as I can, but I'm just like what Mike said. The look, the way he moves, the version honestly played the biggest. The zombie versus the human Jason was the biggest factor to me, honestly.
Me too. Yeah,
just because.
Same. Yep.
I'm spoiler alert. I love zombie Jason way better. So if that tells you anything, so yeah, that's basically my criteria: look, the move, and the version. Dustin, you got any quick criteria?
Yeah, so I have a different outlook than the rest of you guys on this, and this is probably gonna maybe destroy some of my credibility, but that's okay. I've never been much in favor of public opinion anyway. But the thing is, I have a hard time separating the actor, the Jason, from the movie, and the reason I say that is because You know, who's to say that the reason this Jason wasn't as favorable to the audience or to our criteria, who's to say that wasn't the director's, the cause of the director? Who's to say that that's the reason we don't like that movie is because the director had his hand in everything and wouldn't let that Jason be as good as he could be. So for me, I have a hard time separating the two and a hard time ranking an actor who doesn't have a single line of dialogue in 12 movies. I get it. That might not be a popular opinion. And I completely agree with you guys. Like their movement, their gesture, their demeanor, the total package, the look, all that goes into it. But at the end of the day, that's on the production crew, the director. That's on the people that oversaw that whole film. So it's kind of tough for me to rate CJ Graham as Jason because it was the director and it was the studios had a lot to do with how he portrayed Jason in part 6. But that's just kind of my criteria. I did the best I could. I'll kind of explain why I arrived at these conclusions as we get there. But spoiler alert, this was tough for me. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I'll do my best.
No, I'm glad because that gives everybody a little bit of a different outlook on it, and I think if we were all the same with the same criteria, it wouldn't be as fun to do this and talk about it. So I think it's a good thing.
That's true.
I did want to say one thing for everybody, and sorry if I'm stealing what Mike or Nico was going to say, but I just wanted to let everybody know that we did not rank or include Ari Lehman from Friday the 13th Part 1 in this criteria or in this rankings because, come on, he was Kid Jason for like literally 3 seconds of a movie. He had obviously a big part of it, but we're leaving him out and we're leaving Dick Neon out from Part 5 just because technically he's not Jason. So that was our reasoning for only having 7 here.
Right, and just like we also didn't include Flashback Mirage, not really there, Jason from Part 8. So, yeah.
And I just wanted to, before you go, Mike, I just want to say, Dustin, you're not wrong with what you said. Honestly, I could totally understand your where you're coming from, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way as you do. So, like Dustin or Brian said, we've got 4 different perspectives, so this will be fun. Mike, you ready to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. By the way, if you came here to hear Kid Jason ranked, here, I'll help you out. Number 8, Kid Jason. All right, so.
Put some respect on Tim Mirkovich. I hope I said his name right. That's Part 8, Kid Jason.
I'm sure he's a great gentleman, but he was on screen for about 10 seconds. So,
and we also didn't pick any of the fan films either. Just the main Friday the 13th.
That's right.
All right, so this is funny as hell because I'm about to get shit on by my fellow co-hosts here, and that's okay. I'm going to come out the gate shitting on something that I actually love a lot.
He's going to do it.
I love to see it.
I love Sackhead Jason. I think
Not a lot.
Sackhead Jason from 2009, if it was its own thing I could rank, would be higher. But I'll get to that later because technically it is. And I got to go Warrington Gillette here from Friday the 13th Part 2. Not a big fan of Hillbilly Jason. I love this movie. I really do. Now, hold on. I love the movie. I like the look. I'm not against the look of Sackhead Jason. I've said that on record. I still feel that way. And I really love Friday the 13th Part 2 as a movie because the final girl, I think the acting, the gore is upped some from the first one. I like it a lot. But the portrayal of Jason is not good. I don't think it's good. I don't want redneck Jason. The way he kind of bumbles around and falls into stuff. I know he was probably directed to do it that way, but it just didn't click with me. So Warrington, I wish, I tell you right now, Friday the 13th Part 2 would have been a lot higher in our rankings that we did if it had a better Jason.
Interesting. All right. So here, and first, I'm going to say this, Warrington Gillette, I would love to have you on the show, so don't take this the wrong way. But I have a problem like just giving Friday the 13th Part 2 to Warrington Gillette. I know he's credited for it, but Steve Dash, rest in peace, played him to me more in that movie than Warrington Gillette did. I mean, Steve Dash played him under the mask the whole time.
Right. That's
Gillette only played him like when he's unmasked towards the end. And so I have a hard time just giving it to Gillette. With that said, Gillette and Steve Dash, you're both number 7 on Slash there. I don't like this Jason. He's not intimidating to me. And look, here I am talking about the movie because this was, like Justin said, a script problem, I would say too. But, he's clumsy. Amy Steele as Jenny gets all kind of credit in the world for kicking his ass, and she's a great final girl, but she kicks his ass because he's a gigantic pussy in this movie. He's scared to death of a chainsaw. I mean, Jason being scared of anything except water, and we'll get to that later. Like, I'm not a fan of, period. Like, he falls off a box in the middle of fighting her, like with a pitchfork, I think. And it's just, it's honestly like Myers in 1, and where he's like very human, and like Laurie Strode beats the hell out of Myers in 1 a lot. But, and that's not Jason to me when I think of it. So that's why I have him last at 7 too.
Okay. I'm gonna break the cycle here. I'm going to go with Richard Brooker as my number 7 because Part 3, when we did the review, I think we all kind of had our nitpicks and flaws with Part 3. He's not the only actor, obviously, to only get a one-time deal as Jason, but to me, he's the most forgettable, if you will. And so that's why I had to go with Richard Brooker at number 3, even though he was the one that got to debut the hockey mask, and I'll give him a lot of props for that. He was the one that, he's synonymous with the iconic Jason look, so I respect that and everything. But as far as portrayals in movies, pretty forgettable.
All right, I'm going to piggyback right off of what Brian was saying. Number 7 is Gillette / Steve Dash. I only wrote down Gillette, but you're absolutely right about Steve Dash. Yeah, exactly like you said about Halloween. The first Friday was kind of, just a ripoff of Halloween. And I feel like this Jason was kind of a ripoff of Michael Myers from the first one. I'm not a fan of, I hate the look. He looks small and goofy. The kills are weak, which I know is not really his fault. He's just doing what he's told. And like you said, again, he's like when Jenny's underneath the bed and then he's standing on the chair and then the chair collapses. It's just goofy. I'm not a fan of the portrayal by Warrington Gillette and Steve Dash.
Yeah. I still love you, Friday the 13th Part 2, like a lot. Anyway,
yeah,
actually,
the look just kills it for me. I don't overalls right. It ain't doing it for me.
I just watched you earlier today. I really love the movie, but not Warrington Gillette's portrayal. Okay, number 6. I'm gonna piggyback right off of what Dustin said. My number 6 is Richard Brooker. Again, very iconic because the hockey mask, and very iconic for a lot of reasons. But I just don't like Friday the 13th Part 2, and I really tried not to put the movies in it. But this is one I couldn't help because his portrayal kind of waters down this movie to me. It makes him very, very forgettable as Jason. I know he has his place in lore because he debuted the hockey mask, like I said, but I'm just not a fan of the way he moves. It's very, very stiff, very, very plain. I'm not a fan of Robot, which I think he kind of does here. So that's why I have Richard Brooker at number 6.
Yeah, and I think Nico touched on this a little bit. I have a big separation in my mind anyway of the zombie Jason and the human Jason aside from one. But this and there is a pretty big gap there. My number 6 is Richard Brooker as well. I'll try to not say the same stuff has been said, but Mike said he's a little bit robotic, but to me he almost has like a stroll, like a really slow, he's got a nice set of broad shoulders, so that's good. But Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen the cartoon portrayal, like Scooby-Doo portrayal of Jason Voorhees, where he's got those big, long arms that just kind of like look like he's just, just dragging them on the ground. That to me is like how Richard Brooker comes across. And, hey, he gives all the props in the world, for the hockey mask, but he set how Ted White and how the rest of them kind of, started. Okay, I see your portrayal as Jason, and I'm going to go this way, or I'm going to take this from it. So he gets a lot of groundbreaking props for it. But of all the Jasons, he's number 6 for me. Rest in peace, Richard Brooker as well.
Okay. So my number 6, I might have to go with Ted White, and I don't really have anything bad to say about Ted White. I mean, Part 4 is a fantastic movie, and I thought his portrayal was great. But I think once we get into my top 5, it'll make more sense. It's just kind of one of those, I had to put him somewhere. I really don't have anything bad to say about his portrayal, and I know that he's probably a lot higher on the rest of you guys' list, but I had to go Ted White here.
Number 6 for me, I'm going to piggyback off Mike and Brian again, is Richard Brooker, and I'll try and say some different things as well. I don't, like Brian said, he's got the broad shoulders, which looks good, but I don't like the way like the hockey mask sits on his head. It just looks weird to me. I don't like seeing so much of the back of his head too and all that. I don't know. I just don't like seeing his head like that. And honestly, I don't like the fact that my Jason runs. I don't like the running Jason. I like that slow, menacing. He doesn't chase you, but he always catches up Jason. And then in one part that I don't really like, I'm sure it has nothing to do with him. It was a director and all that. But when he's fighting the final girl, when that girl Chris stabs him in the knee, you hear him groan and like making noise. I don't like that part either. I'm just not a big fan. I mean, he's not awful by any means, but he's just not my favorite portrayal of Jason.
Yeah, so my number 5 is, I'm a piggyback again off of Dustin here, just in a different space. My number 5 is Ted White. And look, I kind of agree with you, Dustin. It's not that I necessarily have anything bad to say about Ted White. But we've kind of mentioned on the show the difference between human Jason and zombie Jason. And to me, I also prefer that stone cold killer who gives a fuck attitude of zombie Jason. And here, I don't think we get that. And it is a good portrayal, and I love Friday the 13th Part 4. I think it's one of the best ones in the series, in the whole franchise. But at the same time, he's almost a little too much like Richard Brooker. There's not enough separation to me between the two. I do think that White's a little more violent, better at portraying being a killer, better at being violent. So that's why he gets a spot above him. But it's nothing to really solidify him as this legendary Jason. He is someone who benefits from being in a Friday the 13th movie that's shot well, that's made well, that's got a good script, which, again, I know I probably shouldn't take it into account. I'm going to be hypocritical here, but I kind of had no choice when it came to those two because they were so close. I flopped these two earlier today, so that's why Ted White gets number 5.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm in the same boat. Ted White's number 5 for me. He definitely amplified what Brooker did, kind of like Mike and Dustin said. But to me, he's almost like more Frankenstein. And Friday the 13th Part 4 is to me one of the, obviously I've said it, top 3 Friday the 13th movies. You could put it 1, 2, or 3 if you wanted to. My problem is the human aspect of Jason in this. And it's just, it's hard for me to say anything really bad about Ted White, but if you took like somebody that portrayed a zombie Jason of him, like Kane Hotter, and put him in this movie, I would love this movie more just because that's the Jason I like more than this. And that's just a preference thing. It's not about how the character was portrayed. So, that may be a little confusing, but like I said, when I think of Friday the 13th Part 4 and Ted White's performance, I think of him getting the hatchet in his head by Feldman, and then him just like sticking his arms out like Frankenstein. Like it's just like, ugh, I don't know. It's weird for me, and I don't care for it.
Okay, so coming at number 5 for me, this is where I'm gonna start given some more explanations. This is where, my number 5 is going to be controversial to Nico. No offense, but this is where I actually was able to separate the actor from the film that he portrayed Jason in, because Freddy versus Jason, when we did that film, we had a lot of issues with it. We had a lot of nitpicks with it. But I'm going to go with Ken Kurzinger at number 5 for his portrayal in Freddy versus Jason, because even though that movie had a lot of flaws, it was not a good movie. He had the demeanor, he had the look, he had the total package to be Jason, to be a very good Jason in a number of these other films. But he was cast in a dog shit movie, and it's unfair to him really that he only got to portray him the one time. Because honestly, if we're doing it just based off of this Jason and this movie are married together, you have to rate them accordingly. He'd probably be lower. But if we're ranking the Freddy movies, it's obvious that he would be very higher because the Freddy movies suck. But anyway,
Jesus.
Ken Kerzinger for me has to come in at number 5. It's unfair to him. He could be a lot higher had he got the opportunity to be in a number of these other Friday the 13th films, but he was cast as Jason in a film that had a lot of flaws, and that's no fault of his. So I had to bring him in at number 5.
All right, Mike and Brian, I guess we got the same list for now, because number 5 for me is Ted White as well. I really don't have a lot of bad to say, honestly, but like y'all said, like I mentioned, I like the zombie Jason better. I like the fact that his hands and his fingernails are kind of black and darker. I like that. I think his look is pretty decent, but I still don't like the human aspect of the back of his head and like his traps and shoulders. You can see that. I don't like that. But yeah, I think he like y'all said, that he's more aggressive. The kills are better, which is director and producer and writer, but he's just brutal. He's way more brutal than Richard Brooker. He's a little more serious and darker. Because like I've mentioned in the past, in Friday the 13th Part 3, Richard Brooker, Jason, he just shoots the girl in the eye with a harpoon and just walks away all lackadaisical. It's like, really? Like Jason's just doing this. So Richard, or Ted White, like when he crushes the guy's head in the shower, he's real brutal with it. When he throws that girl out the window, he looks like, yeah, fuck this girl and all that. So he looks real. He's dark and intense, and I like that. But still, he's human, Jason. So he's towards the bottom, but he's not bad by any means.
Yeah. So my number 4. Sorry, Nico. My number 4 is Ken Kurzinger. For a lot of the reasons.
Hey, y'all don't have to keep apologizing to me. This is our list. It's all good, baby.
It's all good. My number 4 is Ken Kurzinger, Freddy vs. Jason. Look, again, a little bit like Ted White. I don't necessarily have anything bad. I just think that for so long, you get the hype around Freddy vs. Jason. And look, I was not a fan of horror at that time, but you read a lot into it and you listen to a lot of different people talk about it. I think a lot of people really wanted to see Hotter versus Kruger because Hotter had been playing him for so long now. You don't get that here. And I think the portrayal of Jason lacks a little because of it. It's not so much that it's bad. It's just he's a little stiff. He's a little too milquetoast for me, where he doesn't do anything bad, but he didn't do anything memorable to me at Jason. He benefits from being not terrible like other portrayals have been. Like he's not bad, he's not good, he's right there at number 4 for a reason. He's in a really fun, famous movie. I think that helps. I think starring along with Robert Englund, I think that helps him out as well. So that's why I have Ken Kerzinger at number 4.
I really struggled with this, honestly, because 3 and 4 to me, I moved back and forth 15, 20 times, and I don't even, I can't even tell you. I wrote down like pros and cons and everything, trying to pick one or the other. And I finally just, was like, all right, fine, whatever. And I finally went with kind of the look, I guess, as the determining factor between the two, which is kind of stupid because it's not even their fault. Like you said, it's the wardrobe people that made them look better. So anyway, I went with CJ Graham at number 4. I really think that CJ Graham's got he like Richard Brooker set a different type of Jason. He was the first of the zombie Jason. He was great. Friend of the show, by the way. Listen to an interview. Don't go out there.com. But friend of the show, CJ Graham, I think did a great job. I liked Jason's super strength in this. I've gone into detail about how some of the cartoon stuff in Friday the 13th Part 6 I didn't like, but again, that'll go into my next pick too. But that's obviously no fault of his. I don't really have a lot of bad stuff to say about CJ Graham. I just, like I said, it was really tough for me to even put him at number 4 instead of 3. So CJ Graham's my number 4.
All right. So one thing we're not going to do on my watch is disrespect the legends, disrespect the trailblazers, the pace setters. So coming in at number 4 for me, fellas, I've got Warrington Gillette. Now hear me out. Hear me out. So you have any idea how hard it is to just take this part and portray it for the first time? Now, everyone that came after him, yeah, they could build off him for inspiration, be like, okay, this is what he did. Let me build on that, take it to the next level. Let me build on what the last guy did, take it to the next level. I don't like what he did. Let me do this differently. He was the first, Bubba. That's tough, especially when you look at all the sequels that this franchise spawned. Obviously, he wasn't the first because, like we mentioned, the kid in Part 1, all due respect, he doesn't count. When you're the first to portray adult Jason, you have nothing to build it on. You have no point of reference. So all that being said and taken into consideration, I thought he portrayed it in a very admirable way, a very memorable way. I get it. You don't want Jason to wear overalls, but I mean, he lives in the fucking woods in New Jersey. What do you want the man to do? So,
Fist bump.
yeah, I mean, he it was Gym Tan laundry day, and his jumpsuit was in the laundry, so he had to wear the flannel shirt with the overalls. Cut him some slack. But
GTL baby.
It was not t-shirt time. But my God, we just quoted Jersey Shore way too much.
Jersey Shore sucks ass.
Ron, stop. So anyway, Warrington Gillette is a legend.
Yeah.
He will always be a legend. And y'all got to put some respect on his name.
Sorry, Dustin. All right, like Brian just said, 3 and 4. I flip-flopped back and forth several times. It really came down to 1 versus 1, which movie or which look and portrayal I like the best. But coming at number 4 for me is Derrick Mears. One of the nicest dudes I've ever met, whether he be a celebrity or just a regular guy on the street. Took a picture for free with me at the Days of the Dead convention. Super nice guy.
Friend of the show, even though he's not been on, still friend of the show.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely our friend, Brian. He was awesome. I'm really struggling to find, honestly, the good thing about this franchise is we get a lot of good portrayals, so that's a good thing, because Derrick Mears wasn't bad by any means. It's just, like I said, I don't like the human look, like too much trap is exposed, and the neck, the head, and all that. But the hockey mask looks good on his face. I do like that. He's super brutal. But I'm just not a big fan of like the Jason that runs at you, and we're going to get into this when we review the movie, but I do like the fact that he's brutal, but the whole tying a girl up in a sleeping bag and all that, I'm just not a big fan of the booby trap calculated Jason. I just like a brutal or like a cold-blooded killer, not I'm going to torture you in a bag and all that. But Derrick Mears was awesome. Nothing bad to say about him. We're just picking our favorite portrayal, so he's number 4, but there's not a huge gap between 1, 2, 3, and 4, honestly.
All right. So I'm glad I get to go first in this rotation because I'm the first one to mention this name. Here we go. My number 3 is Kane Hotter. Again, nothing bad to say. Obviously, I think he's a top 3 Jason, but I don't think he's the only guy who can portray Jason Voorhees. And I get sick of horror fans everywhere that have that mindset where he's the only person in the entire world that they want to see behind the hockey mask. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And quite frankly, I don't think it's accurate because I don't think he's the best Jason. Now, he became a much, much better Jason after part 7. As much as I hate Jason Takes Manhattan, he is the strong point of that film. I think he's good in Jason Goes to Hell, and I think he's good in Jason X. So he is a really good Jason Voorhees. I love how violent and brutal he is, how big and how hulking he is over everyone else on the screen. So he's definitely intimidating and scary. And when we talk about, that kind of physicality, when we spend a lot of time talking about Halloween franchise, the reason that we call Rob Zombie's Jason Michael is because of a portrayal like Kane Hotter. That's the reason. So he definitely has his place cemented in horror, but I just don't think he's the only one. And I wanted to put that in this episode, not to say anything negative about Kane. Friend of the show, Kane Hotter, did an interview with us. He was gracious with his time, but I just feel like he's not the only one, but he is still Jason. When I think of Jason, I do think of that look, but he doesn't hold my favorite overall portrayal of Voorhees. That's why he's number 3.
All right, yeah, number 3 for me is Ken Kerzinger, friend of the show. Like I said, I had really a lot of problems. I could have easily put CJ Graham here. To me, they both play a lot of the same Jason. I liked Ken Kerzinger's size a little bit, but I hated how wardrobe was so baggy. It just you didn't see it as much to me. I like his super strength, but I also don't like the cartoonish super strength. I said it in the review where he throws the dude 100 yards. CJ Graham's kind of did the same thing, with a few things. And I liked his portrayal. I tried to get away so much from the look because I like the mask. I don't like it, some stuff, aspects of it. Like I said, it was a toss up. I like them both friends of the show. King Kurzinger, number 3.
All right, so my number 3, I went with Derrick Mears, and it's because reboots are tough, and you're expected to just kind of wipe the slate clean, start anew, and when you do it 6 years after the last film, it's still pretty fresh. It's not like we sat on this franchise for 20 years and it was like, hey, go do this. So, Ken Kurzinger was still relatively fresh in the audience's mind as to what Jason Voorhees looks like and how he moves and how he carries himself. And Derrick Mears comes in the 2009 remake and just knocks it out of the park. Now, again, this might be because I think that's a fantastic movie and I love that film, but the film would have sucked had Jason not played the part well and not fit the part. So Derrick Mears to me did a top 3 job as portraying Jason.
All right, Mike. I'm right there with you. I put Kane Hotter at number 3, but he only went above Derrick Mears simply because of part 7 for me. I think his look is way better in part 7 than 2009 Reboot. I love how strong and I love his look under the mask as well. Kane Harder looks great in part 7 and with the mask and without it. Jason Takes Manhattan. I don't hate his portrayal, but it's just okay to me as a zombie Jason. Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. I'm not a fan of his portrayal in that because he's not even in it hardly, and I don't like the look. No offense, Brian, because I know you love it. And Jason X is just man. I don't. Is he even a zombie? Because he looks more human in Jason X too. So I don't even know. But part 7 is what put him at number 3 for me. I think I wish he would have kept that look the whole time because it probably would have moved him up. But I'm right there with you, Mike. I don't think Kane Hotter is necessarily the best Jason. I know that he loves the character of Jason the best, so I will give him credit for that. He loves to play Jason. He wants to play Jason again. And in hindsight, he did kind of get shafted out of Freddy versus Jason, but I'm kind of glad that another actor got that role, to be honest, because he's a little higher on my list. But I have nothing bad to say about Kane Harder. He's a friend of the show. He was great in part 7. And like Brian said, his portrayal in part 7 is really what had it so high on my list because I think he did great. But yeah, Kane Hotter is number 3 for me.
Okay. Yep. My number 2 is CJ Graham, and this is the one portrayal that I included the movie as weighing a little bit heavier than the other ones. I love part 6 so much and I honestly think he's a really good Jason in this. Look, I'm a fan of that kind of a little campy, little over the top, not too over the top, but a little campy. There's some meta in this movie. So again, I know we're not reviewing the movie, but his portrayal to me makes the movie. The way that he moves, the way that he is violent, I think it's kind of like that first really violent Jason Voorhees that we get, and I love that. I like his look in this movie. I don't know if that's unpopular or not, but I like his look in this movie. I already said I love the way he moves, but I really do like the way that CJ Graham walks as Jason. That sounds like such a little thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it feels like he's walking a lot in this movie for some reason because he's walking through the trees and stuff like that. And I think it's really good. And I would rather see CJ Graham Voorhees more than I would a Kane Hotter one. And again, it's not a knock; it's just a preference at this point. But that's why I have CJ Graham number 2.
Yeah, my number 2 is Kane Hotter. And I don't think that, like Mike was talking about, I don't think he's the only one that can portray Jason. Whenever I think of Jason Voorhees, I think of Kane Hotter's portrayal. And like Nico said, his look, I love his look in 7. I really love his look in 9 just because it's just almost, and it was, if you go behind the scenes, I think Adam Marcus even talked about it a little bit. It's like they took the what they thought was a natural progression from 7 and tried to make him look, a little bit better. Or like he was just more gross and grotesque. But he's got the signature, the breathing, the shoulders going up and down. That's whenever I think of Jason, that's what I think of. I think of, obviously, like you said, he loves the character so much. They asked him to do all the motion capture for the Friday the 13th video game, which, by the way, the video game, just a little shout out. If you haven't played it, go play it because it's awesome. And they just did their last update out for it. So it's probably going to die soon on the online market. So if you go check out the Friday the 13th video game, you won't be. I bought a PlayStation 4 a few years ago strictly for that game because I wanted to play and love that game so much.
Great game. Awesome.
But Kane Hotter does all the motion capture for that, all the Jasons. And it's perfect to me, no matter which Jason he's even playing in that game, because it's just fitting. Because like I said, whenever I think of Jason, his movements, everything, that's what's branded in my head is Kane Hodder's version of Jason.
Okay, so my number 2, I went with CJ Graham. And the thing is, if you go back and listen to our ranking episode or the first interview that you guys allowed me to be a part of was the CJ Graham interview, and it's because that's my favorite Friday the 13th movie, but I have to bump him down a notch because he only got to portray Jason the one time in part 6. Now it's a great film. CJ Graham did a great job, but he only got to do it the one time, and I had to hold my number 1 pick. I had to weigh that one a little bit heavier because of how many times he got to do it. Spoiler alert. So other than that, though, CJ Graham did a great job in part 6, even though that one had a little bit too much comedy and blah, blah, blah. And he had the utility belt, which I loved, and he smashed someone's face into a tree and made
face.
Yeah, the smiley face. He did the Wilson from Castaway volleyball face on the tree. I don't care. He did a great job. CJ Graham, number 2.
Yep, number 2 is CJ Graham for me as well. And part of it might be straight up nostalgia from seeing that movie. Is the first horror movie I ever saw as a little kid. I love the maggot head look, honestly. But I love his look, honestly. I love the gloves and the utility belt. And he's big and hulking. I love his his movements are really good. Like the way he just moves both of his hands to grab the cop's head to squish it, or the way he throws that dagger into the other cop's head. I just love the way I love his movements. I think he's a really, really good Jason. And, he's a friend of the show. He took the time to chat with us about his career. That was awesome. He was one of our first interviews, so that was really cool. And happy Veterans Day to you, CJ Graham. You served this country. We really appreciate it. I just love CJ Graham's portrayal, honestly. I think he was great as Jason. And honestly, if he would have been Jason in part 7, Kane Hotter might be even further down this list, honestly.
Yes.
No offense to him, but 7 really saved Kane Hotter on my list, because if CJ Graham would have been 6 and 7, he might be number 1, honestly. CJ Graham was awesome. I loved his portrayal.
All right, here we go, fellas. My number 1, pretty obvious at this point. My number 1 is Derrick Mears, Friday the 13th, 2009 reboot. I just want to come out and say one more time, I'm sad as hell we only got one Friday movie with Mears as Jason. It pisses me off. If we ever fucking get out of court in legal battles and we get another one, I really hope that's who they go to, because I'm such a huge fan of his portrayal. He's brutal, physical. I think he nails the walk. They nail the look for him in this movie, the multiple looks. And this is where this is where a lot of my love for Sackhead Jason comes from, because I do think had they done a little bit more of this in part 2, obviously you can't, but because, not as modern, but I just love that look. And I love just how brutal and mean that Jason is. There's no haha. And I like haha. That's why I have a little bit of CJ Graham number 2, but just how dark and brooding and scary that Mears is. And like you guys said, one of the nicest guys that you've ever met. I didn't get to meet him because I had to take a shit. I'm just going to be honest.
Oh my God.
hey, I don't care. People use the bathroom, Brian. Okay.
I was there and I didn't know that's why you didn't meet him.
I'll be right back, fellas. And by the time I got back, I'd already met him. But no, that's okay. That's okay. You guys had stuff for him to sign or have a picture with, and I'm glad he got to do that. No, I love his portrayal. If we ever get a chance to do it, I'm going to stand in line as long as it takes to meet him and tell him he's my favorite Jason Voorhees, because he most certainly is. I think that has a lot to do with the movie and how much I enjoy it. But I think even if I hated Friday 09, I do think Mears would be the one strong point, and I don't really see how anyone could hate his portrayal, whether they love Kane Hotter or not, and that's near and dear. I don't think anyone came away from Friday 09 thinking, oh, Jason was the problem with this film.
Yeah, I agree. Derrick Mears is my number 1 as well. And yes, it is my favorite Friday the 13th movie, but I'm very contradicting, because I just split this list into human and zombie Jason and just said that zombie Jason was my favorite Jason. But and I know that Derrick Mears is playing a human version of Jason, but he played it like the zombie Jason had been played, except he had so much more aggression and just, like you said, he's just pissed off, and he's a hunter. He's like fucking Rambo. And I don't know. I loved it so much. I did not know I needed this version of Jason until I saw Derrick Mears played it. And that's just complete, just props to them, whether it's the actor Derrick Mears, who's, like you said, is an awesome dude, or the writing, or both, or whatever. And I was trying to separate the movie from the actor, but like you said, I know a lot of it was because of the writers. That was why he was portrayed this way. But I loved everything about his portrayal in 09.
Okay, so my number 1, I had to go with Kane Hotter. I mean, listen, he played him more than anyone. He played him 4 times, and they were not all good movies. Trust me, they were not all good movies.
Right.
I do not.
Arguably the worst movies.
Arguably the worst movies.
Yeah,
but
he's still really good though. Like I feel like I feel like I shat out. I'm sorry, Dustin.
No, you're good. You're right. He was really good in these bad movies. Kind of the same thing I said with King Kurzinger. I mean, he got cast in a bad movie, by our standards, bad movie. Still an iconic movie, but Kane Hotter, they sent his ass to space. Kane Harder, they sent his ass to hell. Kane Harder, they sent his ass to Manhattan on a boat. And Kane Harder, they sent him to fight Great Value Carry. But listen, he got to do it 4 times. They wanted him back more than anyone else. I think that speaks volumes to the way he played it, the way he portrayed it, the vision that they had. Who could do this? Oh, well, Kane obviously can, so let's call him back. I think it also speaks volumes to him as a person, as a man. I mean, if he was a dick or if he was an asshole, I don't think that they would have had him back 4 times. He was obviously a pleasure to work with on set, and I think that goes a long way. That's not what we're here to rank, but it obviously speaks volumes to Kane Harder, the person. So when you think of Jason, at least me, I think of Kane Harder. And also, I'm personally terrified because he said if we review his movie less than favorably, he's going to kill us. So I had to rank him number 1.
Well, he's mad about Jason Takes Manhattan. I can tell you that, buddy.
That's true. Hopefully he didn't listen to that one.
All right, coming at number 1 for me, I think everyone knows who it is because I've teased this already. Ken Kurzinger from Freddy vs. Jason. Me and Brian are completely opposite on this. I love his look in this movie. I love how big Jason is. The scratch. Then Brian, my guy, has hooked me up with the, what do you call him, a mask designer or whatever. I'm trying to get a scratched up Freddy Jason mask or whatever. It's going to be awesome. I love Ken Kerzinger's portrayal of Jason. I go immediately to the very first scene where the girl finally sees him walking through the steam and he's real slow and hulking. He's got that big machete in his hand. I absolutely love it. And like I mentioned when we did our Halloween Kills teaser trailer reaction the other day, I think him and James U. Courtney, he's my favorite Michael portrayal. I think they're very similar to how like calculated and slow but deliberate they are with their movements. I love Ken Kerzinger's portrayal. And he's honestly one of the nicest guys we've ever had the pleasure of working with on this show. Super nice. So, yeah, Ken, if you ever hear this and you ever want to go fishing, holler at me. So, yeah, like I said, and maybe nostalgia even plays a little role in, me having Ken Kerzinger as number 1. But I just love how big and, I just think of how he kills Trey. I love Ken Kerzinger's portrayal. But yeah, this was a really fun idea, Mike. I'm glad we did this tonight. Y'all got any final thoughts on our Jason actor portrayals before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to say that, how you have the nostalgia for actually each of you have that nostalgia for the franchise. I don't necessarily have that, but Friday the 13th 09 was the first one I ever saw in theaters because, again, I joined this party a little bit later than you guys. So maybe that's another reason why I'm so attached, because it was my first Friday the 13th movie that I saw in theaters. So that's kind of cool too. Yeah, I think we each have a little bit of attachment. I'm not going to lie, though. I was completely hypocritical. I definitely took the movies into account more than I wanted to.
Yeah, I just want to say happy Friday the 13th to everybody, and thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the movies did play a little bit of a role, but like, I like Ted White's movie more than any of Kane Harder's, honestly, but Kane was still above him.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It's just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you have to factor a little bit of everything into it. But this was really fun. I'm glad we did this. We might have to take on the daunting task of ranking all the Michael Myers actors next.
No. You guys have shit on me enough.
Oh, come on, man.
James
U. Courtney, Nick Castle.
Rank the Freddys, yeah.
Hey.
Coming in number 2 and dead last.
Robert Englund. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
Freddy's dead. Robert Englund coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, Jackie Earl Haley. Number 1 is Freddie and the rest of them. All right, y'all have a good night.
That's true. That's exactly.
Anybody got any final thoughts on Friday the 13th before you get out of here?
Now you're playing with power. Oh, sorry, wrong movie.
Oh, that's one way to get out of here. Yep, all right. We'll see you guys. Hey, don't forget to go to don'tgooutthere.com.
Oh, yeah. Check out all of our reviews and rankings and interviews. We've got so many Friday the 13th Jason actors and supporting cast actors and actresses who've been on the show. It's awesome.
We'll be dropping that on Friday as well. We'll have a nice little collection of everything going on.
Awesome. So, yeah, we just want to thank all our fans and listeners. This was just a fun little bonus episode. We really appreciate all of your support. Y'all have a good one. Happy Friday the 13th. Just want to remind everybody.